Thank you for coming.
Yeah, no problem.
So you're part of our series of 3 questions from people in the community that I want to meet, that I met. In other words, back up. So today we're with Bill Buell. So part of our 3-question video series of people in our community that I want to be able to share, have their story shared a little bit about their life experiences. And so 3 questions that I have for you today. So the first question is that you, about a year and a half ago, you sold your company Domain. Mm-hmm. And it's a big deal when business owners transition and sell their business. And I'm curious, from what have you learned or looking back at the process, is there anything that you would have done differently looking back at a year and a half ago, saying that, you know what, as I sold my business, this is maybe something I would do differently, or Brad, it was just fine, good to go, or these were some learning experiences I learned from transitioning from a business?
So I was fortunate in that I allied myself with somebody who had worked extensively in selling businesses, personal friend. And so right from the get-go, I had a pretty detailed plan around what it was I wanted to accomplish through this. And the surprise, I think, that occurred, good or bad, I chose to share quite a bit with the employees of the business that I sold. So I surprised them with checks and stuff like that.
When you sold your business?
When I sold the business.
They got a bonus check?
Yeah, they got a Bill Buell thank you check.
Okay. Very nice.
And I made sure that was equal across the board, so that no matter who you were, what you were, you participated in that. I would have spent more time thinking that whole piece through. That's one piece that strikes me. Another thing is that I tried to protect certain people. You can't do that in that kind of a transaction, because ultimately people get to choose at the end of the day what they do or do not want to do.
Yeah.
That's something I would have thought a little bit differently about.
Yeah.
That's probably it.
Yeah. So you've been out. You're retired. You're retired. You're involved in other businesses. Mm-hmm. You sold your main business.
Yes.
But what's kind of been the most surprising thing about that? You're out of the day-to-day operations of a business for the most part. But what's kind of been the most surprising thing about retirement in the form of a business owner? That's kind of been the most surprising thing for you at this point.
So the primary business is your DNA. Okay, and so you walk out the door the day after and your DNA has disappeared, okay?
Yeah.
And, that's a major adjustment. That's a slap alongside the head saying, okay, I used to be this person and now I'm this person.
Yeah.
And so you need to wrap your head around the value of who you are outside of your business interests. And so I was fortunate enough to be able to do that. But also having other businesses to invest my brain power in and my time in was really helpful as I went through that transition, because then at some point in time you open yourself up to new opportunities, and that's really what has occurred. Is I do this transition, I focus on my other businesses, but then it's like, okay, what else is there? What else is out there? And that's kind of where I am right now. And then the other thing that occurred to me was I got sick, and I didn't anticipate that. And all of a sudden, I was doing something and I couldn't do things that I used to be able to do. And so you go, what's that about?
Yeah.
And so you look at the priorities in your life a little differently. You put a little bit of acceleration on some of the things that you maybe thought you had greater time to deal with.
Yeah.
And that happens.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you've always been involved in is giving back to your community. Mm-hmm. That's never changed from a business side, personal side, also part of your DNA. Mm-hmm. And one of the organizations that you run is called The Space. Mm-hmm. Do you want to share a little bit about The Space and how's that different or transition from a retirement side that, or how you're occupying your time, or what does The Space actually do?
So The Space is the space for creativity. And the original intent was based on the premise that creativity can solve any problem that exists in this world. Mm-hmm. And if you involve a community in creative actions, community can solve their problems. And so over the last 13 years, we've done all kinds of things that have focused on visual and performing arts, leadership classes, collaboration with other agencies. And after I retired, sold the business, it kind of went dark because I was figuring out, okay, what do we do now? And the end result was that I ended up collaborating with other organizations in a way that I hadn't done before. I brought their strengths into the space and allowed me to have more time to go there or fly there or cruise there. And the ideas that have come out of those collaborations have been just incredible. And so that's going to accelerate. So we're probably going to ultimately do less events, but there'll be bigger events. There'll be better attended events, if you will, and they'll have a lot more variety. And then the final piece is that it's kind of a catalyst for community change. And it's a place where we have all kinds of get-togethers to say, well, why can't our community do this? And then how do we move forward going from that point in time? So it's all me being able to focus differently on really what the opportunities are.
Very cool. Well, thank you for the 3 questions, because I wanted to show people that just because you're retired doesn't really mean you're retired.
That would be a true statement.
And that just doesn't mean that just because you sold your main business that you're not involved in other things. You're not doing other things or contributing to society in different ways. So
It's true. Thank you.
thanks, Bill.